if you are somebody who is searching online going, how do I get more clients in my wedding photography business? How do I get more? And you've watched loads of reels and you're like, I'm done manifesting, Khandie. How do I get them? This video is for you. Okay. I'm going to share exactly how I get them. Now, I've shot 36 weddings last year. And you might go, why can't it? Well, I cap them deliberately. I don't rely on going viral. I have bills to pay. So this is what I do to get my clients and how I keep getting clients. This is something that I've always done since I became a wedding photographer. And this is stuff that actually works. So this is no fluff, no gatekeeping, none of that BS. So if you like that kind of thing, let's go. I think a lot of photographers think they have a marketing issue. What they actually have out there is a trust issue. There are people who do not trust their wedding photographers because they don't see the evidence in order to trust them. We spend too much time trying to hoodwink them into the fact that we are valuable and that people should spend loads of money on us, but they don't get that warm, fuzzy feeling when they look at us. Clients are not scrolling social media trying to find that artistic photographer. They're trying to find that photographer that makes them feel warm and fuzzy and trusted with their most important day. Because bar buying a house, this is probably going to be the most expensive of their life, right? So they don't want you to be somebody that isn't someone they trust. And for a lot of the information out there, they rely on you looking at visibility and the algorithm and aesthetics. And I'll be honest, you need to spend less time focusing on that and more on the other things, the trust building, because clients want reassurance, they want clarity, and they proof that you've done this before. Remember, this is a super expensive day for them. They need to know that you aren't going to F it up and that they can trust you just to roll with it. And if you are doing all the right things, you're hitting the algorithm, you're going viral, but you're not getting booked, it's probably because clients don't trust you. We need to focus more on the trust and less on the, oh my God, look how cool I am, I can go viral. Brilliant. But can you be trusted with their 20 grand wedding? Can you be trusted with that? Because if your business isn't making people feel safe, they aren't going to book you. Okay, Khandie, so how do I build trust? Well, let's start off with the fact that does your website give them a feeling? Because Instagram doesn't really book weddings, but your website should. So how up to date is your website? Couples might find you on social media, but they'll background check you on your other stuff. So make sure that I think it's like a crime scene. They will stalk your website like one. So make sure there's stuff on there that reassures them. Somewhere along the line in the world of photography, we started changing the words around to being like more storytelling, stories, moments, my journey. People just want to know on one page what you're about as a wedding photographer. And they want to know where you work, like what areas you cover, who you're for, like who is your ideal client. Can they get that from everything you're sharing? And what's it like to have you there? Like, do they know that you're going to pick up and carry on and roll with stuff, right? That's kind of what they want to see. They want to be able to trust you by when they first get to that page. They're not hunting for information. It's all detailed there. And I think a lot of photographers, when they're setting up their website, they spend too long talking about things I don't think really resonate with their clients. And trust is so important in this industry. And like I've said on my podcast, The Loud Lens, so many times we've got people entering this industry who don't fulfill the roles that they have been paid to do, like they don't deliver the images or they don't deliver them as well. And so every time that happens, the trust in photographers gets chipped away a little bit more. I also think we need to look at the images that we're sharing. While it's all great to put up the bangers and like, oh my God, look at this image, it's great. But they want to know, can you handle a tight schedule? Can you handle a drunk uncle? Can you handle dark churches? They want to see it. It's all nice having a dramatic shot, but show your capability. I like to show the possibilities of weddings. I did a reel at the end of the year where I showed where I was working and what I was working to show, like, hey, I did a shoot outside on a hilltop. Here I am in a city. Here I am in a dingy, dark church. So people could see it. And it got me a couple of my clients going, oh my God, that's cool. I really like it. And then I got a couple of inquiries because I was showing I can do those jobs. Banger shots are great, but I also want to show my capability. So when I'm doing stuff or showing it online, I want to also say, hey, trust me because I shot here and got this shot, right? A very simple one that goes unlooked is where you work. So I'm in Northampton. I would put wedding photographer in Northampton, photography in Northampton. Like, if you don't put you cover Oxford, Cambridge, Inverness, London, right? Because I'm sorry that kind of just makes you look like you go everywhere, which is kind of cute. But someone will look at go, hey, wait, they're in Oxford, they're in Inverness. It doesn't give them that warm fuzzy feeling. For me personally, I think put your main focus area And then if you want, expand that out, but make sure most of it is for the area that you're willing to work in the most. Okay. If you go, I'm happy to work all over the UK, then you need to make sure that you're showing them that you work all over the UK, that you have reliable transport, because I'll be honest, I'm seeing horror stories of photographers that were literally booked who lived in Guildford and not showing up in Cardiff for photo shoots, for weddings. I'm seeing horror stories of photographers who say they cover the entire UK on one fixed amount and they're not showing up, they're outsourcing it. So just be really careful when you say you do the whole UK, that you're actually showing that you do the whole of the UK. To be honest, I think that's really bad for Google and your SEO. I do think you need to still have a focused area, but you do you. But I personally would definitely look at focusing more on my town, the immediate area that I live in and my business is based in, because that's where I'm going to be boosted most in the algorithm. I think it goes without saying, couples book for certainty and vibes come second. They want to know they can trust you when they hand over this money. I don't care if it's a £400 for a couple of hours or £4,000 for the whole day and the kitchen sink. They want to be able to trust you. People work really hard in this world to get any money, as you know, because you're probably self-employed like me. And so them handing money over to someone they've never met ahead of their wedding is quite scary for them. So make sure that they understand when they book with you, it's certainty. And all of that that certainty, warm, fuzzy feeling is right down to your contracts and how you send the invoices, everything. I tell you this time and time again, I use a client management software because that makes me stand out. That makes me look important. It does, because it has all my branding all over it. It also makes me look like I know what I'm talking about. It shows that I've invested in my business model, which then gives them more trust because they can see it's very slick and they've got all this access. So for me, Studio Ninja, if you're interested, there is a discount code affiliate link in the description of this video before, but honestly, go check them out. There are others. They're just the one that I liked and my clients really like. This may annoy some people, but just remember that social media is not how you close the deal. It is certainly how you warm them up, though. It's a trust building tool and use it as such. Okay. Don't think of it. No one's booking me for your Instagram. Use it to show what you do, how you do it, talk about your story and be a bit more formal if you want, share some of your images. But people will use that to build trust with you. But don't assume you're going to make loads of bookings from it. It does happen. But if we focus all our time on social media and don't look at our website, that's going to cause us a few problems. Okay. I know when I spoke to my clients, they said that they looked at me on social media, they lurked, they followed, they checked I was normal, and then they went onto my website and booked me. Please excuse my outfit. No, don't excuse my. This is what I'm wearing on my day off. Okay, it's fine. So what it is on social media, they want to be able to relate to you. So here are my top tips on social media if you're going to use social media and you want to book clients. Okay, so you're going to warm them up. We're not talking about you grabbing the client there, but this is how you kind of get them used to you. Okay, so 1, talk like a human. Like, don't go start manifesting there. Like, talk like a human. Talk like how you're going to talk to them when you see them. Talk how you would. Like, show your personality, because you're going to be with them on the most important day of their life. So show up. Like, show your bumps. Okay. Explain how weddings work. Like, you could talk through your whole process on social media and your stories. Maybe it's you put it in your highlights. You can talk to them and show, like, here I am on the day doing this. And also be calm and maybe not performative over the top, which is rare because this is me telling you. But like, people don't really book a photographer because they're dancing to the latest trend. They're talking to them. They enjoy their personality for sure, but they're not really interested in you being a spectacle. Does that make sense? She says, "Yeah, only dressed like a Dr. Seuss character." I mean, I don't wear this to a wedding. Most people know that. I mean, I share my outfits from my weddings. I share behind the scenes. I talk about how excited I am to go to their wedding. That's another thing. I go, and I always laugh that I always leave really early, and I'll put it in my comments on my story, like, here I am leaving 5 hours early for a wedding that's 1 hour away, but I'm so worried about being late. I'm here early. Like, those kind of things. But the most important thing out of everything is showing your visage, showing your face, my darling. People want to see this, okay? So make sure you're showing up. It is so important. Like, that can be just talking to stories. That could be you chatting with people. That could be you just doing a little, hi, here I am in my studio packing for my wedding I've got on Wednesday. I'm bringing my 85. I'm bringing this. I'm ready to go. The battery charge. Like, if you don't want to have your whole face, engagingly somehow they get to know who you are, so they can kind of recognize you. It also helps you got bright ginger hair and a mullet, because then they'll recognize it. That's my wedding photographer. Okay, so I will say that while I'm talking about that, there are some things I found that don't work. Like, following trends is cute, but it doesn't really build trust with your clients. They just see you doing silly things on trends. Okay, also copying influencers, trying to do how they do it. It's got to be very real and authentic to you, you know. And I'll be honest, posting for photographers instead of clients, like, I mix the two, but definitely make sure if you're trying to book wedding clients or photographic clients that you're with them in mind when you create that content. Like, don't just do one and disappear. Do a few so the algorithm attracts them. Do stuff, maybe you're answering questions for them. Maybe it's like, how do you book me as a wedding photographer? This is my process. You talk it through. Maybe you talk about, hey, this is how I deal with if it's suddenly raining on your day. And you're aimed at the client, not at the photographer that might be watching you. You're aimed at your client. And that's something I think we also need to differentiate between, that we don't just necessarily follow other photographers on our social media. We follow our clients if they allow us, and we follow things that our clients like, because that will then push us onto them and show that we are actually invested in stuff rather than just trying to get an ego boost and having more followers on our account. So we are trying to engage with our clients. Okay. While I think it's great that we spend a lot of time trying to put adverts out there on social media, I think the biggest way I've ever got bookings has been word of mouth. So that's people recommending me to somebody that they see me work. I've had guests recommending me to couples, even though they haven't booked me themselves to shoot a wedding, but they've recommended someone looking, go, hey, my friend's photographer was amazing. This is who it is. I've had brides and grooms recommend me. I think those are the most powerful ones, because one, it comes from a place of genuine trust in me. It is not paid for. They can also say, hey, she was amazing. She did this, this, and this. She showed up early. She did this. She communicated really clearly. We knew what we were getting. Her contract was really to understand. She was much a part of the day, was not a stress factor, all of that. And I think that is so valuable to get that. And that's how you create a good impression. And I always say to my brides and grooms, when I finish with their wedding, I send them like a little contract, or I talk to them and I'll just say, thank you so much. I really appreciate what you've done. And if they've recommended me to anybody, I will say, thank you for recommending me to this client. I really appreciate what you did there. But I do think a lot of word of mouth has got me more work than a lot of my ads I've ever put out. And I still stand by that. So encouraging word of mouth with clients and saying to them, like, thank you. If you know of anyone who could recommend, that would be amazing. But, you know, also getting just reviews from them. That's kind of, you can use that to refer and say, hey, don't just trust my word for it. Take a look at all my reviews from these past brides and grooms I've worked with, because at least then you've got evidence that it's not just you paying for pretty little quotes. I remember there was one photographer in a group who was like, I'm just started out in photography and no one's booking. And I said, well, that's because your quotes are quite clearly fake. Like, you've just started, and you were saying how these quotes are just are replies to a photographer who's seasoned and has done many weddings. This was not you. And he was like, yeah, I know, but I didn't know what else to put there. Don't put anything, because the moment it's obvious that you're lying, they mistrust everything, and it's really hard to come back from that. If no one is recommending you, it is not an algorithm issue, it's a you issue. And I think that's because maybe you need to follow up with your clients. Maybe you need to send after the wedding like a little, like, thank you so much, please offer me any feedback if you want to do a review here, and take it on board. You should never expect an amazing review all the time, because sometimes things happen. Okay, I know that my friend, she hired a photographer and they were great on the day, incredible, but they were so long in replying to her emails. So sometimes she would wait 5-6 days for a reply on an email, and that didn't give her a warm fuzzy feeling. So her feedback to them was, you were amazing on the day, the photos were great, but the admin side gave me a little bit of stress because you were taking nearly a week to reply to me. So, you know, think about how that is. Remember, be human. You don't need to beg for reviews, but you can certainly earn stories from people who want to tell you. So if you send out that review, you could use their feedback to create a post and say, I'd really like to thank, you know, Ursula and Triton, which are actually from The Little Mermaid, for their wedding review of me. I really appreciate that. I often do that, and that kind of stuff builds trust as well. And often the couple or whoever's very will comment below as well. And it's just that kind of thing. I feel like that is almost worth its weight in gold. That is probably one of the biggest ones, I would say. Getting referrals from people who've already had experiences with you. I feel like this one's weird. I don't think you should book everybody. I said at the start of this video that if you listen back, that I shot 36 weddings this year, and you might think that's not a lot, Khandie. Yeah, it is. It's absolutely a lot. I'm not affordable for everybody. I am not available all the time, and I am not everything to everyone. I know I don't fit in, and to do everything for everybody does not build demand. It builds a burnout. And so I try not to be a super busy wedding photographer. I don't want to be that person. I see photographers, you do you, boo, but I see photographers going, I shot 3 weddings this weekend. I'm like, I just want to sleep. That makes me tired just thinking about it. I don't want to show up to someone's wedding shattered and like, oh my God, I've got to get through all this. I've got 2 more weddings to edit. Like, I don't enjoy that feeling. I don't think that makes me a good photographer. Maybe it works for you, but for me, I found that sort of closing down who and when I'm available really helps. And I make it quite well known that I have just 36 spots that I photograph every year, and I have people on waiting lists. I had a girl who said, Khandie, what dates are you available? And I'll find a wedding venue. And I said to her, I'm available in September, these 2 weekends. And she was like, okay, we're having a London wedding, so I will find a registry office we can get into. And then so happened, it was the one that she wanted to be into, so it was fine. But, you know, that to me means a lot, because people wanted me at their wedding. They wanted me to photograph. Now, am I the world's greatest wedding photographer? I'm going to tell you I am, because I trust my work, but I'm not. There are always going to be better people. I'm always learning. But what I do value my expertise on is my client relationships. I really want to make them feel like they are number one. And for me, showing up after shooting back-to-back weddings, it doesn't happen. It's not going to give them that feeling, and I feel like I've let them down. So I will not do that. I do not want to have burnout. I don't want to make silly mistakes because I'm tired. I don't want to churn out the same work because I'm tired. So I deliberately limit. And I think there is something very empowering about limiting it, and it makes you sort of stand out from the person who's doing 6 weddings a week, because God help them. I don't think you need to have more weddings. I think you need weddings that align with the style that you shoot in, the way you shoot, and your time frames that you want for yourself. And I think that attracts couples more than you shooting for everything and everybody. When I first started, I did do that. I think I shot like 58 weddings in a year. And I was like, who am I? What am I doing? But I did it. I was exhausted. I don't think I did my best on every single wedding. Some of them were very challenging, and I could have tried a bit harder, but I just did what I did. I have, since that first year, said no more. I want the weddings that align with me. And thankfully, my branding, the way I present online, has attracted those kind of people. And I'm able to say yay or nay to whoever and who I wish to work with. And I think it's such a great thing, because saying no is just as effective as saying, oh yeah, I'll take that booking. It's okay to say, no, I'm not available for your day. You don't have to give an explanation. You go, I really appreciate you asking, but I'm just not available. There are some venues, and I know this is awful, that I get asked, would I photograph in? And I used to love photographing in like wedding venues that weren't typically wedding venues. So it was a little bit different. But over the time, there's certain wedding venues I will not work at, because I've had bad experiences at. I've not enjoyed the way they've treated my bride and grooms. Once I've heard that they've been bad to a couple of bride and grooms, I'm like, I don't want to work there anymore. I'm not here to tell people not to book them, but I don't want that experience when I'm working there. And I know I'm not alone. There's quite a few people who've had this. And although we don't talk about it, we do have this sort of like list that we're like, no, I'm not working there. If they change hands, I will. But I have a list, and I just say to them, I'm really sorry, I'm not available, because I've had bad experiences. Those bad experiences could be the fact that they treated the bride and groom really badly, which is mostly, like, with me it's not a problem, but treating my bride and groom really badly, I'm not having that, because that makes it hard for the photos. Their bride and groom get stressed, they don't enjoy having their photos taken, it makes work life makes it harder for me. It has a knock-on effect that I could end up with a negative or a not so glowing review because they've had a bad time at their wedding, and I don't want that drama. I don't. You know, it doesn't matter how good you are as a photographer. You could be the best in the world, and if they have a bad experience on their wedding day, that negative feeling feeds into your photos, and that's how they regard the photos. And same with the videography, they'll just remember the bad stuff, and I just don't want that. Pricing is not a problem, it's a filter. And you're gonna go, yeah, we get that. Like, I'm a big believer in putting my prices on my page. One, it stops people unnecessarily inquiring if they don't have the budget for me. And I know that, like, it's just something. It also shows transparency on my half, which I think then builds up to trust. It makes people, doesn't make people want to book any less. It just makes the right people want to book. So at least then they're in the budget area of what I present. I think clear pricing definitely builds confidence. It kind of reduces how much admin time I'm doing back and forth with replying. And I think it signals professionalism. You could say starts from, you don't have to give your full prices, but at least have some level of pricing on there, because I don't want the additional admin. That admin costs me time. Time is money. I don't want to be spending more time than I need to. So if someone disappears after seeing your pricing, they're just not your client. And I'm okay with that. I just move along. I'm not going to lose no sleep. It's not rejection, it's efficiency. And I think we need to show that. And again, this is all about building trust. So having why won't you show your prices? Why can't you show your prices? For me, I don't mind seeing the whole price, so I can see. Some people are, the jury's out on it, but I prefer, from my point of view, I don't want to do the back and forth with emails. It's there, have a look. Yes, you can customize them with me, but that's what I want. So for me, I'm all about building trust with my clients, so I show them the costs. So here's a couple of things I would stop immediately if I wanted to book more wedding clients and I want to regularly get clients in. I would stop posting daily just for the sake of it, rather than going, oh my God, I haven't posted anything. What can I do? What should I do? Like, I'm like, who am I posting for? Is it for that client? Okay, then I'll post. I am not going to just be posting for having something on my feed that shows I was alive that day. It's just not. I also stop chasing viral content. If it's relevant to what I'm trying to book in, it makes sense, you know? If I can fit it in, then yay. But I'm not going to just do it because everyone else is doing it. I want clients to look at my work and understand why I posted something, because it makes sense to them. It makes sense to who I'm aiming at. It's got a reason. It's not just because everyone else is doing it and I want to get the clout. I also, and controversially, I know this one causes no problems, I don't do styled shoots unless I'm doing an article about styled shoots. I think styled shoots can utterly destroy your people's trust in you as a photographer. Hear me out. A styled shoot is not a wedding, and do not confuse them at all. Do not use them to say this is what you shoot weddings like, because you don't. You don't. Somebody else has created that look. Somebody else has posed and spent ages to create that look. That is not shot at a wedding. You don't have Uncle Graham trying to get a shot over his corner, Auntie Nancy saying, oh, I need to get a shot. No, that's not a wedding. That is a portrait session with styling. That is not to be confused with a wedding. And I have my own experience with this with a friend who hired a wedding photographer who'd only ever shot styled weddings. They were doing it on the cheap, and the wedding images were not great. And when spoken to, it turned out all the images were styled shoots. They hadn't realised, and she hadn't been very clear about that. Even down to the fact she didn't have a double two camera. She didn't even have dual card slots. She hadn't used flash before, and she didn't know how to pose because she'd basically gone to a styled shoot and they posed everything. So, you know, unless it was in the same condition, she didn't know what she was doing, and it was atrocious. I would say I saw the wedding photos and I felt so bad for them. Obviously, if they'd asked my advice, I would have spotted, but they didn't. I just think style shoots are good for you to learn how to do posing, perhaps. But they definitely do not reflect an actual wedding. And I don't think anybody should be using them on their wedding portfolio in the slightest. I do think you should go second shoot. That'll give you a bit more experience, because I think if you've got more experience as a second shooter, which you can go in the Facebook groups and ask, is far more beneficial to you than shooting any styled shoots. In fact, I would rather see no one uses them, except when they just want to show off. It's a fashion shoot or it's a portrait session. Don't add it into your wedding portfolio, because it would be an absolute lie, in my opinion. Stick to second shooting if you want to get content for your portfolio to attract people to book you as a wedding photographer. I'd also stop taking advice from people who don't shoot weddings or don't shoot weddings anymore or are jaded with shooting weddings. I think they have often a negative opinion. They don't really see how the trends have changed at the moment. And I think working with, or equally, don't take advice from someone who books like loads and loads of weddings, because clearly either they're underpricing themselves or they're not caring who they photograph or what they photograph. And for me, that's a concern in myself. We're not a supermarket. We don't have to suit everybody, but we certainly are what we call a luxury item. So we need to treat it as such. Did I mention that you should totally subscribe and like to this channel? Because I do this kind of video content often. I also have a podcast called The Loud Lens. You should totally go check that out, you know? So just to wrap this up, okay, if you want to book more wedding photography clients, you need to build trust. This is not about you being louder. This is not about you following the latest trends. This is about being clear about who you are, what you offer, and why you're trustworthy, okay? People want to know that they can trust you with all that money, all right? So if this video has helped, if you have felt like Khandie is speaking my kind of language, please subscribe and like. Comment below what you have found trustworthy or awful. It'd be interesting to know. And I'll catch you all in the next video.